Hello, welcome back to another pen talk. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for finding me on the YouTube dial and seeing what I'm looking at in the wide world of pens. This video is going to be a little bit different. Well, you see a PenBBS pen in front of you, so not that different, but this is not a typical PenBBS 480 in this Smog finish. If we take off the cap, we'll see. That doesn't look like the normal medium PenBBS nib, does it? No. This is a special cursive italic ground by PalmersPens, and we're going to be linking this to an eBay auction where you could buy this pen with this nib or one of some other ones which we're going to look at, in addition to the standard PenBBS nib. So we're going to take a look at some writing examples, and hopefully you'll be motivated to go to eBay and to bid on this phenomenal offer. A custom ground nib that really looks like a PenBBS nib but doesn't write like one. So it'll be a unique pen in anyone's collection. And that Smog finish is definitely nice, and this is the exact pen that will be in the auction. So let's take a look at some writing samples and see if that will strike your fancy. Here are the 4 pens that were involved in these writing samples using a nib ground by PalmersPens. This is the pen that we're auctioning off, the 480. And I wanted to just show these because I just enjoy looking at PenBBS pens, and I also enjoy very much supporting a young entrepreneur, joining our amazing pen community. He's been very active, and I think it would be good to really show our support by really making this auction very successful, providing monetary support so he can continue to grind some great nibs and maybe even turn some pens eventually. Very good to see our community growing and being joined by some very good young artists, and Arlo Palmer is one of those. So jump over to the auction, bid it up. Let's make this a success. Thank you. So these are some writing examples using those nibs. And down here at the bottom we have the standard fine, which I have in a 355. This was written with the cursive italic nib, which I think is just a phenomenal nib. I did a whole review on the first one that Arlo ground for me. You get a very nice variation between horizontal and vertical strokes. You can see the loop-de-loops and the squares, that you're going to get some variations just by normal writing. And it is a relatively wet nib. But some people like a fine nib, so we had an extra fine that Arlo ground. And this is definitely extra fine. You can compare it to the regular fine here, and you'll see it's fine. It is smooth. It's a pleasure to write with. Not a nib that I would generally look for, but I certainly can appreciate it, and it is relatively wet. You can see the difference in the amount of ink that's put down. During these writing examples, I didn't push the nibs, and these are not nibs that you would generally push, but you can get a little bit of line variation if that's what you want to do. And here is a phenomenal grind that I think Arlo really excels at, is the architect grind. Here we have the horizontal strokes being wider than the vertical strokes. Use the loop-de-loops, the squares, and as you can see, it's about as wet as the cursive italic. So we're gonna do some live writing, but this is writing not done over the camera, so I had some more control than I normally do. The other thing I had him grind was a left oblique out of a 1.2 millimeter full of wind nib that Bobby sells. This is the first time I've had one of these nibs ground, and I think he did a phenomenal job. As you can see, it's a very wet nib. And this has a similar line variation to the cursive italic, but it just has a little bit of more character to it. You can see it in the loops here. And the left oblique, for those of you that follow my channel, is probably my favorite grind. So this is an excellent example of that. And here is just a standard fine, and this is a really excellent example of a standard fine at its best from PenBBS. And again, it's a very wet writer, but no real line variation, no character to it, but a very consistent writer. All these examples up here were done with Pilot Blue Black. I wanted to use the same ink in all of these. And this is, I think, the 512 PenBBS ink, which is a much bluer ink, but I'm not going to refill this, and I'm not going to fill another standard fine with Pilot Blue Black. These I just filled a little bit. They will obviously be flushed out and thoroughly cleaned before they reach their new owner. So let's take a look at some live writing. I mean, you can hear it on the paper, but I'm writing over a wooden desk that amplifies the sound. This is smooth. It feels great on the paper. And I find that line variation to be good. I mean, this could replace my left oblique as my favorite grind on a nib, especially the way Arlo grinds it and the way it shows up in this pen. So here's an example of the extra fine here, and this is the standard fine, which is in that 355 that we saw the writing example of. You can see how he turned that fine into an extra fine, and I'm impressed with the job that he did. And it's not really a needle point, but it is close. I mean, it's certainly almost like a Japanese extra fine. Let's see how it puts down ink. I mean, this is almost smoother than the cursive italic, which I think is an impressive. With a very fine nib like this, it's not typical for it to be smooth like this. So for those of you that have always pined for an extra fine PenBBS nib, here's one. So now we're going to take a look at the Architect grind, which is the one here in this nice vermouth 480. And I think, again, Arlo did an excellent job. It's hard to rotate it when it's not in the pen, of grinding that nib to produce what is referred to as an Architect nib. Let's see how it lays down ink. Yeah, you can hear this on the paper also. It does have a little bit more of a sharpness to it. And of course, over the camera, I have amazing problems spelling. That's why I did these other ones up there without having the camera in between us. So this is a very, very wet nib, which is the way it was positioned by Bobby, who sold them. And I think, again, an excellent grind by Arlo. So we took this 1.2 and ground it to a nice left oblique. You can see how he took off the tipping material that was fairly thick on there to begin with. And again, a nib that I'm impressed with. Let's see how it puts down ink. This also feels very smooth, much smoother than the Architect and even the Cursive Italic. This is a nib that I could write with forever, but that's just my style. That's what I like. So I hope you've enjoyed looking at these nibs writing live. And again, we're going to give links to the eBay auction for you to have an opportunity to bid and get a unique PenBBS pen that you will definitely enjoy writing with. So we're going to say thank you for watching. And as always, be safe, be healthy, be happy, enjoy your pens, enjoy your life, enjoy bidding on a pen that you would love to have. So we've reached the end of this video, and we're going to say bye. See you on eBay. Really nice nib.